Want help to grow your business? Download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.
Hello and welcome to Masters of Business. My name is Janine Garner, and today I'm going to talk about the 7 core principles of commercial collaboration. Now, how many of you remember Atari? I reckon there's quite a few of you out there that do, and I bet there's a few of you that have a favourite game. Mine was Pac-Man. Do you remember the sound? Wacka, 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 as Pac-Man would fight off the 4 ghosts, Binky, Inky, Pinky, and Clyde. Yep, that's what he was called. But you know what? Pac-Man was amazing. Atari was amazing. And for those of you that don't remember it, literally head to that 70s show or go and look in that filing cabinet named Nostalgia, because that's where you'll find it. But back in the 70s, Atari was the bee's knees. It was the Apple of the video game world, selling well over 30 million consoles. So the question is, where did it all go wrong? Well, competition intensified, and this little unknown brand at the time, Nintendo, entered the market. Now, Nintendo weren't happy to just be a domestic Japanese brand. They wanted to take on the world, and they approached Atari and said, hey, let's work together. And Atari went, okay, negotiations started. They even got as far as drawing up the final contract papers, but at the very last minute, Atari pulled the plug. You see, Atari had done everything on their own up until that stage, and as far as they were concerned, they were going to be okay into the future. But if you fast forward to the 1980s, the market changed considerably. There were copycats everywhere, and the market became really saturated, such that in 1983, the video game crash hit. According to reports, that year, Atari produced 12 million cartridges, but they only sold 5. If you want to know where the other 7 million are, jump on a plane, head to New Mexico on the southern flank of the Sacramento Mountains. There's a little village there called Alamogordo, and it's there that you'll find in landfill 7 million cartridges. Nintendo, meanwhile, they'd seen what was happening. They'd seen what was going on in the market, and that the market was changing, and they developed this lockout technology to prevent any copycat activity using its consoles. And the rest is history. Nintendo continued to grow, and they still have the second best-selling video game in the world, with Super Mario this year selling already 40 million versions of its game. So you see, what happened is you had the smallest approach the biggest and say, let's work together. But the biggest went, nah, it's okay, we're pretty good on our own, we don't need you. And that's what we did in the 70s and 80s. It was very much about being bigger, being the bestest, and going it alone. Atari failed to future-proof. They failed to notice that the market was changing. They failed to collaborate. And they failed to work with another party to make sure that together they grew the market and continued to be successful. The message is really clear. We cannot move quick enough alone. You see, the world has gone crazy. There are consultants around the world telling us that we're living in a world that's volatile, that's uncertain, that's complex, that's ambiguous. And I reckon there are 5 critical things that have happened that have really forced this change to happen much more quickly in terms of the business landscape in which we're operating. The first of those is that our knowledge is increasing exponentially. Darren Hardy, who is the former publisher of Success magazine, which comes out of the States, actually wrote a report recently that showed that in the 1900s, it took about 150 years to double human knowledge. Now it takes 1 to 2 years. But the scary thing is that by the year 2020, it's going to take 72 days to double human knowledge. So just think about that. Everything that you know now to be true, within 2 months will change completely. How on earth are you going to keep up? How on earth are you going to keep relevant? So this speed of knowledge is changing the way we're doing business. The second thing is that we're living in a very uncertain economy. Now, I'm sure I don't need to tell you this, but the world has changed, amazingly since the GFC. We'll never go back to a world pre-GFC. What the GFC did, it changed how consumers behave, where they choose to spend. It changed all of us as business owners in terms of where we're going to put our resources, the decisions that we're going to make in terms of our staffing, the money that we're going to outlay, the things that we're going to buy, how we're going to structure our business for growth. And that's never going to change. That uncertainty is happening here domestically within Australia, but it's also happening on a global scale. And the third thing is that we are now living in a much smaller world than ever before. The competition that we are facing is not just our own backyard. Whilst the distance may be huge, the reality is that we are living much closer than ever before. We are competing on a daily basis, on a global basis, for sales, for profit, for resources, for staff. You can no longer be comfortable by sitting comfortably in your own backyard and only thinking about that immediate competition around you. You've got to keep your eyes wide open and your eyes well and truly looking at the global landscape. And obviously that's being driven by this fourth thing, which is the digital revolution. Not just the fact that we have computers and technology. I mean, scarily enough, I started work way before there were things such as email. But it's actually the speed with which technology is changing. Every single day we're getting new platforms, new apps, we're getting cloud-based technology, we're getting multiple ways with which to communicate. And that is changing the landscape in which we're doing business. We have the opportunity to build brands at the touch of a button. We equally have the opportunity to destroy brands in a nanosecond. So we've all got to be careful and conscious of how we can actually leverage this incredible opportunity to connect with the world through technology. And then the final thing that's driving this volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world that we're living in is the fact that we've got significant social shift going on and significant generational change. For the first time in our history, we've got 4 generations at work. We've got baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, and Gen Z. And nobody has taught any of us how to work together, how to communicate effectively, how to influence each other, how to actually get along such that we drive change and drive impact within the workplace. Mark McCrindle is a social scientist out of Sydney, and he actually stated that Gen Z, and those are the generation that are born post-1995, are going to be the most restless generation to ever hit the planet. It's been said that they're going to have 17 jobs in their lifetime. So any of you that are expecting to recruit somebody and hope that they'll stay with you for 10, 15 years, it's never going to happen because this generation is restless. Yet, they are savvy when it comes to technology. They are savvy when it comes to communication. This generation are the creators of content. My generation, the Gen X, are consumers of content. So the whole thing is going to change. Equally though, Gen Z is going to be very, very competitive for them. 1 in 2 Gen Zs are going to have a degree. 1 in 3 Gen Ys have a degree. 1 in 4 Gen Xs have a degree. So this generation coming through, it's going to be competitive, they're going to be restless, but at the same time, they have incredible talent that they can bring into our organizations and that we can learn from in terms of ensuring that we are relevant into the future. So these 5 key things are changing the landscape in which we're operating. The business world that we knew looked like this. It was this beautiful, long, winding road where we could make decisions and plans 3 years, 5 years, even 10 years out. But now it looks like this. It's incredibly competitive. We are zigging and zagging. We come in on a Monday with a to-do list, and by Friday, that to-do list is still existing, and it's equally got another 50 things added to it. The world is changing, it's changing quickly, and we have to be prepared to zig and zag continuously. Our clients, our staff, our suppliers used to be gorgeous. They used to be really easy to deal with, but now they're more demanding than ever before, and they're making demands on us 24/7 via email, via phone, via text, via social media. Everybody is constantly asking for more in terms of their service levels, their expectations in product, and even the price with which we are going to do business. And finally, resources used to be limitless. Back in the 80s, it was okay to go out for a long lunch and not come back till the next day. We didn't even question the fact that we were color photocopying on single sides. It was okay. But now we are limited with resources, and every single one of us is having to do more with less. Resources have been cut left, right, and center in big organizations.
To continue enjoying this presentation, download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.